Hello and welcome back to Tech Tuesday. I am your host, Jordan Evans. Today we have an awesome episode lined up for you. I'm thrilled to be joined by my friend Michelle, who works at Nobi and an expert in thoughtful design for senior living communities. Together, we'll be discussing how to incorporate functional devices as well as design into making sure that we meet the needs of residents and caregivers, and also how we blend seamlessly with a resident's personal aesthetic. When a person moves into these communities, it's not a facility. This is their home. And so, how can we create a space that allows them to age well and age what is looked at successfully, but then also make sure that their aesthetic is represented and in a place at home? Like, how do we, there are a lot of age in place consultants that help people age in place at home. As I think about this topic, I was watching the Olympics this week and looking at the thoughtful design. If you don't follow the Olympics, tune in to see how they've just beautifully designed this entire course across the entire city of Paris. It is beautiful. I just so excited every time I tune in, and this has really made me think about that. And so we're going to talk about so much and so much more. But before we do, here's our intro. That is the hottest intro in all of senior living. I guess senior living podcast live streams, all of it. That is the hottest intro out there, and I don't take the credit for it. I didn't make it, but it looks so good. And it's only the second time we've had it, and I'm just like, yeah, every time the music is good. Michelle, thanks so much for coming to the show.
Thanks for having me. Yes, that was the swaggiest intro I've seen lately. Though I'm a little disappointed the hat didn't make an appearance in real life.
Yes. I have a hat. I need to start wearing my hat onto the Foresight's gotta help me out with my hat inventory.
Though you're looking very summer fresh, enjoying the polo. So we'll save the hats for episodes in the fall, maybe.
Yes, actually, I was just thinking that we and thinking in the theme of design, got to make sure that we're staying in season. I mentioned before the intro I've been watching the Olympics. I don't know if you're watching the Olympics as well.
Oh yeah.
But the design elements of the Olympics, like at some points I've been thinking to myself, like, this has to be like computer generated because it's so clean.
Mm-hmm. They really did a beautiful job of taking the spaces that already existed and marrying the function with the space. I also read somewhere that their budget actually stuck with or as close as most Olympics have gone recently. Say hi to my friends. Sorry. But it's been beautiful to watch.
It has been beautiful to watch, and it's also in the theme of design. Before we jump into the meat of everything, Michelle, where the heck are you?
I must confess, I am in an airport hallway. I am in it's the third floor of the Viennese airport. I'm in Vienna, and this is a relatively quiet space tucked up above all the melee of gates and food and people checking in. But not so quiet that we didn't have a couple guests go by. So shout out to the Austrian border police.
Wow. I tell you, other than being in the Pittsburgh airport, I haven't found many airports that are really quiet, that you can find a space to like just have a call. Other than, I mean, of course, everyone, if you've been to the Pittsburgh airport, like, there's many quiet spaces to be in.
Yep,
Um,
like an extension of Mr. Rogers' neighborhood there. Shout out to Pennsylvanian. But yeah, this is a perfect example of how the function of how we use spaces now, this international space where people are going to have Zoom calls, they're going to have meetings to take while they're on their way to something else. And the airport wants to match that functionality and make it acceptable to all. And so this space has worked out pretty nicely for us.
So this is a perfect pivot into senior living. I'd love to kind of talk about the history of things and how things started. Early senior living with like the earliest I can imagine model of like our today senior living would be like the Erickson model. And that was really built towards retirement and just built for a different generation than the generation we have today, and then the generation of tomorrow. Whereas people are moving into communities and they're working, they are looking for spaces to entertain their family members, they are looking for spaces to actually live and continue their life, and this idea of retirement that we had a long time ago isn't the same. Please, I speak to that.
I think the spaces are matching how we are as a population now. Think about sort of the glow up of the Golden Girls era to what we think of as 50 and 60-year-old people now. The J-Los, for example. And so the spaces that folks are retiring into aren't retirement the way we had envisioned back in the day. It's going to match the aesthetic of people's lives, particularly the places that are getting folks in younger and saying, we recognize and celebrate your lifestyle. We want to match what you envision your life to look like. And that's fully living with multi-generational family visiting, with spaces for people to have dinner parties and entertain. So parts of these things are going to look like resorts, parts of them are going to look like retreats, but they're all ways that people can feel at home in a new home for as long as they'd like.
And people are capitalizing on this idea. I think Taco Bell has a retirement community now where we can live Moss every day.
Live
Um,
Moss forever, Viva, for
yeah.
sure.
I mean, I can't imagine. Just when I thought of this, I first imagined like taco shaped furniture and like everything in like little taco dishes, and yeah, like that.
Like a little
But
Pico
it's
will pique your interest to come and live Moss with them. Exactly.
you should work for the sales team. Um, but as a perfect they're creating these spaces for people to have fun and for but like I don't want to live in a place that's fun. I don't want to live on vacation.
And that might not be the aesthetic for you, but think of those who do. There's something for everybody if we can match it. I think the Margaritaville retirement communities have been a thing for a moment now, and that matches a very particular set of folks who say, I do want to live vacation style for myself. I don't want to be thought of as old. This is what suits me. This is where, I've worked hard to spend my playtime now and my living time and my working time if I so choose. This can match me. Other spaces have more of a Zen-like spa type retreat feel. Others are very active, hiking and biking. And so just the same way that you and I don't think of ourselves as any particular age most of the time, I'd say, neither do
Yeah.
the people that we call elders or seniors. They feel like themselves and they're in whatever moment they're in whatever shape they're in. And the communities that are going to gain them are the ones that recognize, celebrate it, and give them the space to be themselves in the best way.
Hmm. I can't I cannot wait for them to I think they this idea of themed housing, or I can't remember what they've called it. I've used this term in different times, but this idea of this themed housing, I cannot wait to live in a dude ranch themed senior housing, or I would retire there, like a CCRC that is like on a ranch. I would retire there.
Mm-hmm.
But as we build these different
Take your horse out
spaces,
to the watering hole and you're welcome to do it.
oh, I would love that. I would love that. Oh, that would be so fun. And there are communities that I've come across that do incorporate like different animals and different things, and they do have like a farm on site or a garden, and everyone has a garden. But either way, however we create these spaces that are aesthetically pleasing or not even like environmentally themed, even to fit these different people's homes, we still have to incorporate things in them to make sure that people can age. And I hate using this term because it's full of ageism, and I have yet to find a better term, so please throw it out there. But age successfully, or age well, or just like continue to age without
Be
many
themselves at
problems.
whatever age, but
Yeah,
be
and
them,
continue to
their
be
best
themselves.
selves.
Yeah, with
And
dignity and respect.
dignity is such a key piece of it. And part of the dignity of incorporating great technology into these spaces is hearing seniors, elders, however they'd like to call themselves, tell us and show us that they are not reticent to use technology like the rumor was for so long. That's sort of an ageist idea too. But the folks that are starting to consider senior living retirement communities use cell phones, they use laptops, they want robust Wi-Fi, they want smart homes that help them thrive in place, whatever that place is. And so the communities that are recognizing that and not treating it like an outlier, like it might have been 10, 15 years ago, are
Mm.
also going to gain a lot of respect from folks that want to Zoom call or FaceTime their grandkids. They want to be able to have an Alexa or some other service turn their home on and off for them as they go out to go on vacation or do things in their community and out of it. So the places that incorporate that and meet seniors where they are going to be able to help those folks multitask and want to stay there longer. I mean, think of the way you run your home and the designs that you have in that space. Tech is probably wired into your space the same way it will be as you age, wherever that is.
Yeah, I mean, I think about as I age, I have an Alexa smart home, or as smart as I could make it. And so Alexa turns on the TV, she turns on the lights, she's a part, we create routines for her. And that's just to make us comfortable. And we've looked into, as I've said on the show before, we're having a baby in October, and I've also incorporated things, especially Alexa Smart enabled things, to ensure that as we grow our family, that our home is not only smart and smart for our comfort, but smart for our safety. We just bought this like baby monitor that you can strap a thing on, and it can monitor breathing. And so when breathing changes are seen in the monitor, it will alert us to Alexa. And it's another way that we're incorporating, safety. And there's a way that we can do that for people in their home. I love that we just we got everyone
We've
in the
made friends
conversation.
internationally.
But there are things that you work with a company called Nobi. And Nobi does these cool smart lamps. Tell us about the smart lamps.
So these are ceiling mounted smart lighting. So the luminaries work like regular lights would. If you walked into any stylish home and found a pendant light or a ceiling mounted lamp above your dining room table, above your bed, and it can do dimmable things. There's AI inside them that can tell if you're getting up out of bed, kind of like motion detectors, and help light the space so you don't fall down in the dark.
Mm.
These beautiful lamps blend in a space. So I hold one in my home so I can help demo for others. And if I didn't tell you it was something that we install in senior living communities, you wouldn't know. You just think it's a really nice looking lamp. But the multitasking bits and the AI built into it mean that we can match circadian rhythms to help those who might be experiencing different time of day changes. We can
Hmm.
tell if somebody is getting up out of bed, and instead of them fumbling for switches, now we can just light the space for them the same way that you've got your smart home wired. This is just another way to incorporate that technology and use the infrastructure that's there, as opposed to having to get one gadget by one gadget, one gadget. I think the spaces that design for multitasking match the way that we all like to multitask, whatever our age is.
Hmm. Wow, that's really cool. I would love a lamp to be able to help me when I get out of bed. Um, and I love that that is something I'm seeing in a lot of these functional tech things that are coming out. Is there things that I'd love to have in my own home, not just something that is segmented for an older population, but something that's really made for everyone. Is there anything else you've come across that you can share about? I'd love to hear anything else you've come across that is helping people age not only comfortably but safely.
A number of products out there that you see in other people's smart homes, but have the added benefits for elders that might have mobility issues or might not be quite as dexterous as they used to. Um, for a little background, my grandma was an interior designer, my grandpa was an architect, and my uncle, their son, was quadriplegic and lived at home with them. And the way they designed their home felt like a home that still
Mm,
facilitated easy living for my uncle in a wheelchair, as well as my grandparents as they aged.
mm,
So low tech technologies like ramps built in pretty seamlessly into the space so everybody could get around as they needed to. Um, Other little things like raising the dining table by a couple of inches so that wheelchairs
mm,
could fit underneath it. All of these
yeah.
things were low tech. Something that was more medium tech that I didn't notice necessarily until I started working in senior living. All of the light switches in the house weren't the toggle type, but they were the flipper type, the ones
Oh,
that.
yeah, yeah.
And so I don't remember them being that common in the 80s, 90s. But if you think about how that would help my uncle and then my grandparents, my grandma with rheumatoid arthritis, instead of having to be dexterous enough to hit the one little switch, she's able to kind of hit the whole pad and not have to ask for help. It
Mm,
preserves her dignity, allows her to age in space as long as she needed to and wanted to, without giving up the little pieces of just running her life the way she wants. And
yeah.
so nowadays, more high tech things we've seen, smart faucets. So somebody again who can't always reach the exact point, they can work with like the smart faucet to be able to help them out. Voice operated robots around the house have been really helpful for a time as companions as well as aides to help with lights, give reminders about pills or other things we might have on the calendar. And
Yeah.
so all of those incorporated into spaces, whether aging in place at home or in a community of their choosing. Um, Everybody has sort of bits and pieces they can pick from. And ideally, these aren't siloed either. And so they can make it all work under one Wi Fi system and feel like it's really facilitating an easier life.
It's a lot of stuff here. One of the things I'd like to take up with the last 10 minutes we have is I'd love to kind of develop a playbook. Like, let's say I want to do this in my community. We don't have a big budget, but there are some, because everyone doesn't have a big budget, and not everyone wants to put it back on the residents, because some people are comfortable doing that, and that makes sense, especially if you have a resident population that can handle that. But not everyone does, and some people want to make their spaces smarter and also like not even just smarter from a high tech but also from a low tech, and I love that you created those differentiators. um what can I do? What resources can I, like, where do I go?
we start with folks like us who are having the conversations and being thoughtful about what it would look like. And then we can kind of think on how we as individuals like to live. Elders are no different than us in that way. What makes your life easy? What facilitates your lifestyle? Same for me if I'm your neighbor. I would usually start with sort of resident councils because we should be going to the source for what is a nice to have versus a must have for them, and what are actual facilitators of good living versus bells and whistles and new initiatives that might not be adopted. And once we get a feel for, everybody really does want robust Wi-Fi so we can call to friends and family who are not on premises with us. That's a good thing to know. If we really value shared spaces, then maybe the community is going to build out more technology in gathered spaces. Perhaps aesthetics are the most important thing to us, and we want to have an art gallery and put resources into that space. Low tech, but gives just a really good feel for how you're living in a space. And often the health outcomes for being exposed to art in various forms are better and make you feel like you want to stay there. So length of stay is enhanced by listening to what residents feel makes them feel the best.
Wow. You don't think about art. You don't think about art when you go into a space, but making sure that it's not like your everyday art pieces that you went and picked up. I don't know, where do people buy art now? Your
The
Hobby Lobby art.
internet.
Um, but finding actual pieces, and then also like you can find art that inspires and challenges and is thought provoking. You can find that your local um farmers market. You can find artists, you can take them on loan from a gallery, you can do different things um to
So many
bring
of the
art into your space.
residents that I've gotten to visit with, uh, they are artists themselves and like to contribute to a gallery if they're given the space. So I've seen some really great communities who um, might hold a gallery night and take resident made art and put it up just like it's an opening on First Friday in your town.
Mm.
And then if they've got, decent Wi-Fi there as well, they can live stream to family and friends that couldn't make it, let's say, and really get a mood going where everybody's contributed to the feeling of a community and
Oh,
that
that's
thriving
awesome.
nature.
I love that. That's awesome. Um, and there's ways to also use your partnerships with your other to just incorporate more tech into your spaces is having your, I think one thing that we didn't mention, but it kind of goes into talking to the experts, is talk to your vendors, see if they're looking for pilot partners for different things that they're looking to bring about in spaces. There that is constantly a thing of people looking for testing grounds. But if you don't have the Wi-Fi, which is something we've talked about, even when we I think it was like the first episode we did was we talked about how we do have this gap in Wi-Fi and tech and being able to in this gap where we have people that don't have high speed internet. And your Nobi, I mean that has to have high speed internet.
We do require internet. And so when we're installing in a place, we will do a site walk beforehand to see if it's going to be advantageous for everybody. And then we'll work with them and partner up with others if helpful to help beef up that Wi-Fi so we can make sure that we've got things where they need them to be. But even before that, we can also just act as a luminary. So the aesthetics you get from a beautiful lamp can be installed, and we'll just have the lighting working up until we've partnered up to get the Wi-Fi where it needs to be to give you the fall detection and fall prevention pieces.
Hmm.
And I believe there are other vendors who can work with each other. And if we're all sort of in coalition, then if they can get data and goodness from multiple tech stacks at once, it might be more worth it to the community, the residents, the board to work on the Wi-Fi piece because they're going to get goodness out of one project by using 6 or 7 technologies, ideally all at once.
Huh. Look at that. Teamwork makes the dream work, as they say.
Exactly.
So if you want to do this, here's the way to go about it. First, talk to some experts, and there are experts that not only can give you resources, but they can give you grant resources. CMP grants aren't what they used to be, but they are still money. That's still money. I think there's a $5,000 cap on those now. Um, but they used to be a lot more. But getting for grants is a way to definitely go for ways to optimize your space. And then ask the people closest to the solution. I've heard it as ask the people closest to the problem, but we ask the people closest to the solution. Um, Ask your resident council, ask your residents, ask them what they would like to have in their space. Alexa is actually a very, I'm not talking to you, is a great affordable solution. Like getting a little dot and putting it in a room is a great thing that you can do. And smart plugs are very inexpensive as well. Uh, and those are simple things that you can just plug into and bring them together. Um, so yeah, this has been great. Any takeaways, Michelle? So I'll give you the floor.
Um, that it's great to talk to folks who want to design spaces thoughtfully so that more people want to live in them in a variety of ways, whether it's us visiting right now or designing for our future, designing for people in our family, knowing that folks all have different needs, just like we have at home. And so communities matching those needs in a space with thoughtful design is going to just lead to better outcomes for everybody and happier people, more good
Mm.
word of mouth. Like so much goodness comes from it, better adoption. And the more we think about thoughtful design in our own lives, the more that we can sort of proselytize that to the people who are important to us, I think.
Hmm. Well, if you want to learn more from Michelle, if you want to hit her up and ask her some questions, or just get pictures from her wonderful trip to wherever she's going, and where are you going next?
Vienna for this week, Munich next week, and a little Paris on the tail end. So I get to witness the end of your Olympics. I'll let you know if it's still as beautiful in person or if they've been CGIing it behind the scenes.
Yeah, take a jump in the sand before it
I'll keep
before
my mouth closed.
this has been another great episode. Oh, if you want to find out more, there's Michelle's LinkedIn. Nobi is an awesome company doing amazing things. And their website is right here. There it is. So go check that out. This has been another great episode of Tech Tuesday. I'm your host, Jordan Evans. We are here every Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And you can do your time conversions, whatever other time that is, wherever you are in the world. Thanks so much for joining us. And here's our outro.